The last C-17 lifted off from Hamid Karzai International Airport on August 30th, this afternoon, at 3:29 p.m. East Coast time. And the last manned aircraft is now clearing the airspace above Afghanistan. We will soon release a photo of the last C-17 departing Afghanistan with Major General Chris Donahue and the U.S. Ambassador to Afghanistan, Ross Wilson, aboard. While the military evacuation is complete, the diplomatic mission to ensure additional U.S. citizens and eligible Afghans who want to leave continues.
America's longest war is now officially over, and we can say they lost. The U.S. has just confirmed its last airplane has left Afghanistan. All its troops are now gone from the country, and the Taliban have taken over. By the way, not only have they taken over the country, they have inherited billions and billions and billions of dollars of U.S. military equipment. Now, the problem is many U.S. citizens and many allies, Canadian allies, are left behind. They are now at the mercy of the Taliban. The same, of course, true for Canada, the U.K., the French. Like the U.S., the Canadian government has reiterated, though, its commitments to continue helping those left behind. Canada and other countries say they have negotiated with the Taliban. According to Mark Garneau, he told me not directly, but they're negotiating through the U.S. to allow foreign nationals and Afghans with valid visas to other countries to leave Afghanistan safely. But how is that going to happen? With the reports of ISIS missiles targeting the Kabul airport, are Afghans stuck finding their own way out? How is that even possible? What guarantees does Canada, or what leverage does Canada have? Let me bring in retired General Rick Hillier. He's the former commander of the NATO-led International Security Assistance in Kabul and the former chief of the defense staff here in Canada. Thank you for your service to the country, General Hillier, and welcome back to the program. Let's just start at the top. The longest war the U.S. has ever fought is over. They leave behind billions of dollars of very, very sophisticated military equipment, planes, helicopters, with the Taliban. Just your reaction to seeing that press conference. It must be, for you who fought there, quite something to see.
Overwhelming sadness, Evan. Overwhelming sadness. And what you described is all negative. However, I always try to find something positive. And, you know, we left behind 20 years when people were going to school, when girls were being educated, when there were freedoms that they had not enjoyed for a long time, if ever, in their society. And we created in about 90% of that society an openness, which is quite incredible, and which I hope will bear fruit as we go forward here. This is not the same Afghan population that was beaten and oppressed and brutalized by the Taliban in the 90s and 80s. This is a different population, and I think that will change what occurs as we go forward here. But nonetheless, overwhelming sadness. I kind of feel like the international community has let Afghanistan in its hour of greatest need.
Yeah, and again, you're 100% right. Tremendous things happened over 20 years. No one should undermine the work or the work that men and women did, the blood and treasure Canada and other countries expended. But as you say, the Taliban are in charge now, which is a stunning and shocking and in some ways horrifying thing. I spoke to the Foreign Affairs Minister, Mark Garneau, yesterday, and he said to me, look, we are going to do everything we can to help rescue our allies, the citizens who are left behind. How do they do that now realistically, sir?
Well, actually, Evan, I'd like to know myself, and I'm sure most Canadians would. We've never seen a plan since this sort of crisis came to an eruption. We don't know what the intent was beyond get people out, and we don't really know how many actually got out. So I'm not sure what they're intending to do. There are ways and means and opportunities to look after people that you can be in contact with, at least for a while yet, until perhaps the Taliban close or get a tighter grip on the country. There are land borders with many countries across which we can get people. There are other airfields around Afghanistan. Perhaps we can run aircraft in and out on a prearranged basis. That's risky, I know, but there are those kinds of things that can be done. The Taliban have never, ever controlled all of Afghanistan, and so there will always be opportunities in pockets and near border regions in particular where people can get to and then get across borders and into safety and then hopefully to Canada for those that we want to bring here. So there are all kinds of things. I'd like to know a little bit myself about what Canada intends on doing.
Right. Yeah, apparently they're trying to negotiate with partners, whether the stand countries in the north, China, Pakistan. If people have managed to get across those borders, we're also hearing those borders are closed to refugees. So that's a tricky situation. I don't know what leverage they have, except the Taliban need, it's as you say, it's a landlocked country. They need an airport. But the Taliban are also dealing with ISIS-K. So how does that complexity play out, General Hillier?
Well, first of all, let's go back to the borders around Afghanistan being closed, Evan. Like, no border is ever completely closed around Afghanistan. And I mean, really, that was one of the major challenges that NATO and the international community and the United States dealt with in trying to help Afghanistan from the very beginning. The Taliban went back and forth across borders whenever they really wanted to, and it was impossible to contain them. That's no different right now. Countries can announce their borders are closed, but people are still going to cross in large numbers, and therefore there is opportunity to get people out. Secondly, though, I would say, never mind all those other countries. We should have one focus as a country ourselves and as an international community, and that's Pakistan. As Pakistan sort of goes, the Taliban will go. And if there's a way to influence the Taliban and to bring them into a less brutal style of governance, to allow other people to get out of the country that we want to get out and that rightly should come to Canada, then the opportunity to do that is probably not going to be directly with the Taliban. It's going to be through Pakistan. And I always say, hey, if there are three things I'd recommend, it's Pakistan, Pakistan, Pakistan. We've got to influence Islamabad. We never did it well during the actual fighting there and paid a price for it. But if we're going to influence the Taliban at the front end, it's got to be through Pakistan.
I totally understand that analysis, General Hillier, and you know it better. But 20 years, $1 trillion, boots on the ground, international military, never really got to do that, put that kind of pressure on Pakistan. I just wonder, just practically, because you and I are, and many people are hearing from terribly terrified people who have connections to Canada and visas to come here, or they're terrified, they're sheltering in place, they're trying to get out right now, they don't know what to do. But I just don't understand what leverage we have. If you can't make that pressure where you have military on the ground and a total commitment, hard to say we're going to have more leverage on the Taliban now that, wheels up, everyone's gone. Where's our leverage?
Evan, what I would say is this: do we really mean that we'll do everything necessary to get those people that we want to get to safety to come to Canada because they served with us? And they served when we needed them most at great cost to themselves. And let's be prepared to do everything, whether it's trade embargoes or sanctions against individual Pakistanis. We have so many Pakistani admirals retire in Canada that there's actually a club formed for them. And so maybe we should consider all of those things to make the point to Pakistan. Yeah, we want to do business with you. It's a mature relationship, maturing and getting better, we hope, all the time. However, we need some results, and now is a time when we really need them. So there are some things that you can do, and if you say you're going to do what's necessary, then let's consider all of those things.
Finally, just before I let you go, on a pretty important day, the 20-year war is over. What would your message now, what would it be to people who are left behind that said, I worked with the United States, I worked with Canada, I worked with the Netherlands, I worked with NATO. Now I'm here. I gave to you. You asked for my trust. Now I feel abandoned. What's the consequence of that, and what's the message for those folks?
Well, I think the consequences are far-reaching, and it means in operations around the world in the future, people are going to know what happened in Afghanistan, and if we fail to use every reasonable means that is available to us to get more and more of those people out, and therefore to protect them, we're going to have even greater challenges in helping out and helping secure helping make a more secure world in the future. So the consequences are far-reaching. We failed that group, and we failed them during their hour of greatest need, despite their service to us. And I think that's appalling on us as a nation. It is bad for us as a nation. We don't look good in this one here. And whatever the foreign minister has said, I say, look, let's do that. Whatever we can possibly do to get one more out, 10 more out, a dozen more out, 100 more out. And let's not stop, and let's give them hope that they're going to have an opportunity, and we're going to do whatever is necessary. And let's make that hope visible through our actions on the ground. There are lots of people in and around Afghanistan, former military, retired special forces, contractors, people dealing from the outside. There are all kinds of avenues of communications, ways to make things happen. There are many routes out of Afghanistan. It's not just Kabul International Airport. Let's really use all of them, and let's make sure we leave no stone unturned. And Evan, can I say, though, not only did we fail those, but, you know, what a great time now. We've got 40,000 veterans of Afghanistan here who are all now questioning their own service. And I say to you, you know, stand tall, because you did what our country asked you to do, and you did it so well, and you did it about asking nothing. What a great time during an election period here to look after them. Let's make sure that we get our wounded looked after, whether it's mentally wounded or physically wounded. Let's get them looked after. Let's get that Afghanistan National War Memorial made. And look, let's do something like a royal commission and say, what is it we need to do to look after our veterans following operations, and get our two major parties to actually say during this election campaign that whatever that royal commission brings forward, they will action and get on with and make occur. Let's look after the people who served in Canada also.
Yeah, it's a very fine point. We haven't had a big discussion about the veterans. It's a very difficult day for many veterans, including yourself. Of the long war, Canada left that mission 2014, but have very strong ties there. General Verkillier, thanks for your service and your message today. I really appreciate it, sir.